The 2027 NFL Draft is projected to be one of the most stacked draft classes in recent years. So in today's video, we're going to be doing my second, way too early 2027 mock draft. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're new and going to enjoy. Let's hop into it. So as you can see, we're using the First and 10 mock draft simulator. Check it out, link in the description below. I think I'm going to be doing these mock drafts like once a month. As I start to scout more players, I want to see kind of how the draft unfolds. But with that said, we are going to begin first overall, the Miami Dolphins. I do believe if the Dolphins are drafting #1 overall, expect either a trade back if Malik Willis hypothetically does play well, or the potential of them drafting a quarterback. I'm going to assume if they have the #1 pick that the whole Malik Willis experiment just didn't work out, which honestly isn't very shocking. It'd be honestly kind of shocking if it did work out, because this roster, even after the draft, still kind of stinks. So I'm going to go ahead and get this team a new franchise quarterback. Again, Willis could potentially start for a second year. It wouldn't surprise me, and the young quarterback could be sat for a year or at least half the season, whatever it might take. I'm going to go with Arch Manning here. I think Arch Manning has a big arm, big frame, should be in for a big year at Texas. But there's a lot to like about his game. He's got to clean up some things like his mechanics. His accuracy was kind of fluctuating at times. He feels like he can rely a little bit too much on just his overall athleticism and God-given ability. But at Miami, again, maybe he has the chance to sit behind Malik Willis for a year. He also gets to be reunited with Quinn Ewers, which is kind of a fun little subplot there. I mean, Quinn now going to be in year 2 of the NFL. He can kind of be a very good veteran, I guess, in some ways, especially for Arch, given their relationship at Texas. So I think that could be a really cool spot for them. Hopefully they can be a bit more aggressive next offseason to, give him some actual support. But we're going to go with Arch Manning to the Miami Dolphins. All right, Arizona. Obviously, they did take Carson Beck, but I don't think they took Carson Beck to be their long-term franchise starter. At least I would hope not. Obviously, like, if you believe in Carson Beck to be the guy, then maybe a guy like Jeremiah Smith could pair up nicely with Marvin Harrison Jr., bring back the Ohio State boys. But to me, I just don't think you need to do that. I think you need to continue to focus in on Marvin Harrison Jr., ensure that he's developing the right way. And honestly, with Michael Wilson, Kendrick Bourne, and McBride, your receiving core should be pretty good. Maybe you could add like a pass rusher defensively, but if you're drafted #2, you got to get your franchise quarterback, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Mestamaker, to me, has the higher ceiling than Dante Moore. Bigger frame, more athletic, much more of a playmaker, fits the modern NFL. But he's done it at North Texas. Can he do it at the highest level? Dante Moore has shown at Oregon that he can step into a big game and play well. Granted, not against the Indianas or Ohio States of the world. We'll hopefully see that a bit more this year. I'm going to go with Dante Moore. I just feel like he's the safer bet right now. Even though his ceiling isn't as high as a Drew Mestamaker, Mestamaker's floor is a lot lower and Dante Moore's floor is a lot higher. So let's go with Dante Moore. All right, then we get the Tennessee Titans. We actually changed up the draft order just a little bit from the last mock draft, so that's why it's a little bit different. At #3 at the Titans, if they're in this spot, I would expect a trade down with one of these two teams here, either the Jets or the Browns. But I don't want to do any trades yet in any of these mock drafts, so we're just going to be simply just going through it. But yeah, if this was the actual draft order, because the Titans don't need a quarterback, they have Cam Ward. Unless Cam Ward just sucks next year, then maybe you think about it, but you're not thinking about it. Then yeah, you're looking to trade down with the Jets or the Browns, drop down 1 or 2 spots, and then pick up. Honestly, from the Jets, you might be able to pick up an additional first-round pick. I mean, the Jets have, what, 16 and 11? I mean, to move up 1 spot, maybe it could be a little rich, especially in this draft class, but I think there could be an argument for it, because the Titans could be in a situation where they could say, I guess not the Jets, but maybe more so the Browns. But I guess if you're the Titans, you could say, all right, Jets, don't give us that first-round pick, and we'll trade back to 5 and give Cleveland Drew Mestamaker and screw you over. So could be a little fun little plot line there. Obviously, the best player in this class, at least as of today, is Jeremiah Smith, but the Titans just took Carnell Tate, and they invested so much money into Wan'Dale, and you have Elike Omener, Shamir Dike, you still have Calvin Ridley on the roster. It feels like to me, if you do take Jeremiah Smith, it's just simply because you're just getting the best player available, and you get to pair up Carnell Tate with his college teammate, and a trio of receivers of Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, and Wan'Dale Robinson, if they can maximize their potential in the league, could genuinely be like one of the best in the NFL. So I'm not going to overthink it. I think if you, even despite the fact they have a decent receiving core, if you have a talent like Jeremiah Smith available, you take them. Now, Colin Simmons is definitely in play here. So is Leonard Moore. These guys right here are awesome. They would have been top 3 picks in last year's draft class. In fact, they probably could have potentially went #2. Actually, they would have went #2. Let me rephrase that. They would have went #2. So these guys are just like as highly seen prospects in my eyes as Jeremiah Smith. But Jeremiah Smith, I mean, he's He's just a little bit different, right? He might be a little bit different. Let's go with Jeremiah Smith to the Tennessee Titans and pair him up with his college teammate. But that works out for the New York Jets because they obviously need their quarterback. I'm going to go with Drew Mestemaker here for the New York Jets. We talked a bit earlier about Drew Mestemaker when talking about Dante Moore. Mestemaker is very much so. You can see the productivity he had last year, 4,000 yards, 34 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, good completion percentage. This was all at North Texas. But as I said here, he is a very fun watch. Right now, he's a little bit like awkward mechanically, so he's got to kind of clean that up because it can lead to a bit of some accuracy fluctuations, especially deeper down the field. But I didn't feel like the accuracy was that big of an issue, right? I thought for the most part, especially in the intermediate to underneath sections, he was pretty sharp with his accuracy. He's a very good athlete. He's got a big frame. He's a good playmaker. He works well in like the RPO. He can hit the underneath stuff very well. He just needs to be a little bit more consistent, prove that he can do it at a bigger conference in the Big 12, and, you know, of course, clean up some of the mechanics. And you're talking about somebody that could be pushing Arch Manning or Dante Moore for #1. I think it's a very real possibility. So, yeah, Mestemaker to the Jets would give them a very real franchise quarterback who, by the way, if Geno plays well next year, which if they're drafting 4th, then I don't think he played that well. But let's just say Geno does play well. Then, honestly, it's another situation, kind of like Malik Willis and Arch, or Brissett and Dante, where you could be in a spot where Mestemaker can sit for a year and let Geno be the guy for a second year and let Mestemaker just soak up as much knowledge so that way in his sophomore year or later in his rookie year, he can start to actually play and look very good. So, yeah, we're going to do that. All right, Browns at 5. I think this is probably the worst spot right now because there is a bit of a drop-off after the top 3 quarterbacks. Arch, Dante, and Drew Mestemaker are kind of in that higher tier and higher bracket for quarterback play. But I do really like Jaden Maiava. I think Darian Mensah has a lot of talent. And I think he's going to have a breakout, I don't say breakout year because he's been pretty damn good. You can see the stats here. He's been pretty damn good for Duke. But transferring over to Miami, playing with Malachi Toney, playing with Cooper Barkett again, playing with Mark Fletcher. I mean, that's going to be a really good team. CJ Carr is also an interesting player as well because he has a good arm. He's a good athlete. He can move a little bit. He's got a nice sort of good floor and base to him right now. But last year at Notre Dame, I mean, he was basically just handing the ball off every other play, and teams were stacking the boxes and leaving guys one-on-one on the outside. So now I want to see what CJ Carr can do without Jeremiah Love and Darian Price. I don't feel confident taking him right now in the top 5. Sam Levitt, he's got a long way to go. Julian Sayin, I don't love his ceiling. I think it's just too narrow. And then some of these other guys are like big swings that I think are all pretty fun. Like Lenore Sellers, massive swing, could be very good, could be very bad, but huge, big arm, all that stuff. I like Nico. I like Drake Lindsay. John Mateer's got a fun little game to him as well. So there's some real quarterback play here. And if I'm going to take one, it will be Jaden Maiava. But taking it at 5 does feel a little bit rich, especially with a Colin Simmons and a Leonard Moore both available. Man, this would be a very tough spot for the Cleveland Browns because they don't have that second first-round pick this year. I mean, unless they were to trade away a guy like a Myles Garrett, then maybe they could have that extra first-round pick. I just don't think I can reach on Jaden Maiava right now. It feels so very rich, especially when there are, I don't want blue chip talents here. I'll say it. I think these guys are blue chips like Colin Simmons, Leonard Moore, Stewart, even Trevor Goosby, I think is awesome. David Stone has a ceiling that honestly could be the best defensive player in this class. So I feel like you have to take one of these guys here. And if I'm going to take one, I think I will take Leonard Moore. This Browns defense, while very talented, is getting a little bit older in the back end. And Leonard Moore, to me, like he is an absolute star. But you could pair Colin Simmons up with Myles Garrett and create one of the scariest pass rushes in the NFL with Mason Graham, Myles Garrett, and Colin Simmons. I mean, that could be filthy. Man, I would love to take Jaden Maiava here, but it just feels so rich at 5, and I'm not going to do any trades. So I'm going to go Leonard Moore here. Give that Browns secondary some actual depth. Give it some superstars because they are getting up there in age. So yeah, let's do that. All right, 6th, the Las Vegas Raiders. They already have their franchise quarterback in Fernando Mendoza, but they could use some pass rush help. This is an easy pick here for me. I'm taking Colin Simmons of the Texas Longhorns. Yeah, you have Max Crosby in the fold, but they obviously tried to trade away Max Crosby this past offseason. So maybe he's gone next offseason, but even if he stays, let's say he has another good year, you now have the chance to pair up Max Crosby with Colin Simmons. Simmons learning from Max Crosby, getting bigger, getting stronger. I mean, that would be a nasty pass rush combination. So let's go with Colin Simmons to the Raiders. New Orleans Saints at number 7. I would love the fit of David Stone here, but I do think Dylan Stewart might be the higher end talent as of today. David Stone is a bit more of a projection. His game is still a little bit raw, but the idea of putting him up the middle here, pairing that up with Carl Granderson, Chase Young, and those guys is very, very, very enticing, but you did invest a lot into Christian Miller. So, but granted, David Stone is kind of a versatile piece. You can move him around. I will go with Dylan Stewart, though. 6'5", 245. Obviously was playing a little bit banged up last year, but he is the high-end pass rush talent that I think this team needs. Obviously, Chase Young and Granderson are still getting the job done. They're still very productive, good football players. You also have, of course, now Christian Miller in the fold. Another year, Brian Brisset. Hopefully, he can start to take some steps forward, but it feels a little too late at this point. You brought in Caden Ellis. I think adding in a guy like Dylan Stewart, who is an elite athlete, super explosive, highly productive his rookie year, or his freshman year, I should say, and is just a high-end pass rusher who I think still has a pretty high ceiling to be more of a three-down guy. Give me Dylan Stewart right now at number 7. And another guy that, if he has a good year, could be a blue chipper. All right, New York Giants at number 8. I think this pick is honestly kind of simple for me. I think I'm just going to go ahead and take David Stone. Obviously, you lose Dexter Lawrence. I did like the DJ Reader signing, and I'm excited to see Darius Alexander continue to develop. But you need more higher-end talent in that room. After losing Dexter Lawrence, I mean, it's just point-blank simple. And by the way, it's a pretty good interior defensive line class. Like, a lot of talent in this one. David Stone, Amari Washington, Ahmed Moten. Jaden Jackson has like a higher floor for a lot of these players. I really like William Eccles. I'm excited to get back into his tape. Man, there's a lot of like really good football players in here. Hero Canoe is also pretty good. Bryce Young is pretty good. So a lot of talent, but I think right now David Stone would probably be my clear-cut interior number 1 just because of the pure upside and potential he has. I mean, it's legitimately through the roof. And his play has been really good on tape too. So yeah, let's go with David Stone for the New York Giants. All right, number 9, the Atlanta Falcons. I'm kind of thinking I might go with a tackle here. Jake Matthews is getting a lot older. Jawan Taylor's also getting older. You could maybe conversate a little bit about taking a Jaden Mayava right here after the Penix and Tua stuff this year. We'll see kind of how this all develops. I think right now it's a little too early to go quarterback. I think we could maybe start to push that idea down the board. But yeah, I think if I could potentially get Trevor Gooseby to be our long-term replacement for Jake Matthews. And Jawan Taylor, by the way, is also very old and not the same guy he used to be. So I'm going to go Trevor Gooseby here, who I think he potentially could have been a top 10 pick last year. I'll just say it outright. Let's go Trevor Gooseby at number 9. All right, Washington up at number 10. I really like what they did in this year's draft class, getting Sonny Styles, getting Antonio Williams. I love Joshua Joseph. I think he could be a damn good player. Katron Allen, then you got some other guys in here too. The roster's pretty good. Not a lot of issues going on here. But I do believe that maybe adding another corner could be in play here. I'm liking OJ Frederick a lot. I also love the idea of taking Cam Coleman because McLaurin is getting older, was banged up for a lot of last year. Williams will play a lot in the slot. You do have Traylon Burks, Sammy Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Landon again. But I just don't think any of those guys are even close to the talent of Cam Coleman. Cam Coleman could learn a ton from Terry McLaurin. 6'3", 200 pounds, is going to be in for a massive year for the Texas Longhorns. Has been highly productive despite playing with bad quarterback play at Auburn. But a big frame, big catch radius. You can see my comp to him is like a George Pickens-esque player. Just a very silky, smooth route runner. Hard to bring down, big frame. Has to clean up some of the drops. He had a couple of those on tape that is just a little bit annoying. But, I mean, he's going to be in for a big year with Arch Manning in Texas. So, what do we got? 4 Texas Longhorns in the top 10? Crazy. They should be in for a national championship or close to it. Oregon's also good. At 11, we got the New York Jets. They initially took with their first pick Drew Mestemaker, so they got that secured. I'm thinking I might go with a cornerback here because you have your quarterback. Maybe you could go wide receiver if Cam Coleman is still available. Then I don't hate the idea of adding in a big body receiver to replace Adonai Mitchell if Mitchell just doesn't work out. Your tackles are already set unless you think Jordan Seaton can kick inside to play guard, which he might be able to. But I like him as a tackle. I feel like that'd be kind of wasting a pick there. But for me, I would like to add maybe something in this secondary, right? D'Angelo Pons, obviously, will be a rookie this year. We'll see if it works out. Brandon Stevens has been fine. Brownlee's been really good for you. You got Nashawn Wright. You have Ezra Thomas. So you have some depth here, but I don't know if there's anything necessarily like overly proven right now. OJ Frederick is 6', 180, but he's like a lengthy corner with a lot of tools to like. He's good in off coverage. He's good in on cover. Like there's a lot to like about him. But I think I'm going to go with Zabian Brown. I just feel a little bit more secure about Brown. 6', 192. A lot of production for Alabama. He's physical. He's handsy. Likes to play on the outside. Very smooth hip corner. I think he's worthy of a top 11 pick. So let's go Zabian Brown there for the Jets. All right, 12 is the Minnesota Vikings. You could also talk me again here for a corner. I like Chris Peel. I'm very excited to dive into more tape on Bolden and Frederick. I just kind of watched a couple of their games to kind of get a baseline of them, and I'm very excited to see even more from them. I think that's kind of the direction I'm leaning towards here. They also are going to need a running back or a quarterback. I feel like, again, the quarterback thing with Minnesota is like very similar to what we talked about with the Atlanta Falcons, where it's like they have quarterbacks on the roster that, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt right now. So I'm not going to go quarterback here just because it is a little bit too early for me to, just to completely count out McCarthy or Kyler Murray, even though like they're on thin ice and maybe at some point in the future we'll do something like that. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They need a running back badly. I mean, Aaron Jones, Mason. They did bring in Damon Claiborne, who I would not be surprised if he gets some snaps this year. I think he's an absolute dog. Corner I think is a bit of a need here as well. You could definitely talk me into an OJ or a Peel or a Bolden. I think he's good. Kelly Jones is one of my favorite in this class. But I'm going to probably go here with the running back. I think this is a really good running back class. Ahmad Hardy would be one of the top guys, but unfortunately he got, unfortunately shot in the leg. He's okay from what I've heard, but I don't know if it's going to count him, completely out this year or how that's going to work out. So I'm going to just, for now, until we get more information about Hardy's status, how he's moving, and all that sort of stuff, I think Keywan Lacey might be the safer bet. 5'11", 200 pounds, really athletic, just an athletic specimen. Look at the production he had this past year, 1,500 yards. By the way, I think I heard that he was going to go to Missouri, or he was at Missouri or something like that, and potentially could have paired with Ahmad Hardy. That would have been filthy. I'm going to go Keywan Lacey there at number 12. I will say he's not my RB1. I actually like Justice Haynes and Baugh and Hardy a little bit more, but I think I'm just I think I might be like a smidge lower on him. I think the league will be a little bit higher. All right, Pittsburgh 13. They need their quarterback. I'm going to go with with Jaden Mayava here, who to me is kind of that fourth quarterback off the board that I'm really liking right now. Big frame, good arm. It's not like the best arm. I think he needs to put more oomph, if I'm saying. I think he needs to put more oomph in these balls. Pause. Whoa. But you get my point. He needs to put more something into it. But man, he's got a great deep ball. He's mobile for somebody who is as big as he is. Very good size, 6'4", 230. I think he's going to be in for a big year here this year at USC. He's got to clean up the interceptions. He's had a lot of them throughout his career. You can see 10, 6, 10. That's 26 through 3 years. Has to clean that up. But in general, I think there's a lot to like about him. He's a very kind of mature prospect. Good pocket movement, good pocket awareness, solid enough arm. Again, needs to put more zip on the ball at times. Generally, for the most part, pretty accurate. Plays the RPO, plays the play action well. Just a lot of things. And again, if there's one thing about USC and their head coach, Lincoln Riley, there's the one thing you know about him. He could put quarterbacks in the league. So I'll take that bet. All right, I got to pick things up. I'm talking too much. 14, Tampa Bay. A lot of ways I could go here. I could go with a corner, but there's some young guys they already have. I could go with Jordan Seaton to give this team a bit more options at offensive line, but I mean, Tristan Wirfs is one of the best out there. Let's, I think I might go with I think I could talk myself into like a receiver, perhaps, because Chris Godwin is getting older. You did bring in Ted Hurst. Emeka was really good last year. McMillan's fine. But I think that there could be a conversation for like a Nick Marsh or an Amarian Miller or even like a Bryant Wesco, who I like. Ryan Williams, he's got to clean up the drops for me. This is tough. I also think adding another pass rusher to what you have in Ruben Bain is also a great idea. And I like Yanze Pierre a lot. I think Damon Wilson has a nice ceiling. Quincy Rhodes, I haven't gotten to his tape in recent months because I watched him for 2026 and then he returned to college. So I haven't gotten back to him, but I remember liking his game quite a bit. Clev Lubin is also a fun player too. And there's a lot of good players in this class. I mean, Traore from Notre Dame, also very talented. Yeah, a lot of talent here. Uyagale is kind of like, he's not really that pass rusher I'm looking for. I'm going to go Yanze Pierre. I think his ceiling is very high, very athletic, versatile piece. Does a lot of good work in like stunts and things like that. But he's a good athlete. He's fiery. You can move him around and play some linebacker a little bit too. I like him at 14. I think he's going a little bit underrated right now. 15, Carolina. I'm going to keep doing this pick forever and ever. Jamari Johnson, 6'5", 257. Great athlete, good blocker. Obviously, very productive despite playing with Kenyon Sadiq. I think he'd be an awesome fit for that Panthers offense. All right, New York Jets back up again. They have went with Drew Mestamaker and Zabian Brown. Let's maybe look at adding a safety here. And there's a KJ Bolden. I'm going to go KJ Bolden from Georgia. Love their draft class for them. All right, Bengals at 17. Obviously, linebacker is a need. From what I've seen so far, this linebacker class isn't necessarily great or as good as last year. Kingston has dealt with some injuries, but when he's played, he's to me like legitimately awesome. Sammy Brown is pretty good. Ben Roberts, I haven't gotten to his film yet, but I've heard some positive remarks. Perkins, I've liked a little bit. Rasheem Biles is kind of a missile out there, a little bit undersized, but man, he can move. So is Perkins, 6'1", 210. That's a tiny linebacker. Let's go ahead and look at the idea of maybe going like corner. I don't like the idea of going back to edge rusher. You could also talk me into an offensive lineman here. Jordan Seaton here is very enticing. I know they just extended Orlando Brown, but I think what Orlando Brown's extension was what, a 2-year extension, I want to say. I can't see it here. I think it was a 2-year extension. So I don't know when exactly his contract's up, but I don't hate the idea of taking Jordan Seaton, letting him play some guard over Reisner when Reisner's done this year. And then when Brown retires and moves on, we kick Jordan Seaton out to tackle. That might be where I'll go with this pick. All right, 18, the Chicago Bears. I need to give this defensive line some juice off the edge. And I like Damon Wilson. I think he's not really a Dennis Allen type of guy. Mateo would be the type of guy they would look for. Bigger, longer, rangier. So would Quincy Rhodes. Again, I have to get back to his tape. I haven't seen it yet. So I'm going to go with Mateo here because I have watched him. Bigger frame, very high effort, high motor guy. Great run defender. Can get after the quarterback a little bit. Has had some solid productivity throughout his career. So, yeah, I think he's a player whose best football is still ahead of him. He's getting better every single year. All right, Jacksonville at number 19. Obviously, it wasn't a great draft class for them for a lot of us, but I think they did some decent things in that class. They need a running back, though, very badly. And so I'm going to do so with this pick. Again, I'm gonna refrain from taking Ahmad Hardy right now until we get more information about the injury. Jaden Baugh is so fascinating, 6'1", 231. But I mean, he is unbelievably explosive for that size. Just a very freaky athlete. He might be not like 231 at this point. He might be like 225 or so, but still, he's huge. I like Justice Haynes a lot. I think he's my RB1 in this class so far. But I don't know if teams are gonna be like in love with him like I am. They might be looking for more of the traits. And if you're looking for traits, then Jaden Baugh would be that guy. So we'll go with Jaden Baugh there at number 19. All right, Dallas up at number 20. So the board has fell actually really nice for them because guys like Alice Robinson are here, Kelly Jones, Chris Peel, and OJ Frederick. Cowboys need a corner pretty badly. Let's see if Deron Bland can get back into fold. Savon Ravel in year 2, right? Can he develop and be that guy? Caleb Downs, obviously, we expect to be very good. I know they might need a linebacker, but again, I just don't think this linebacker class is like all that, at least right now. And I think you can probably wait till like, the Cowboys have a 2nd round pick this year? Yeah, they can wait till round 2 or 3 to get something from that class. Let's take OJ Frederick here. Very high upside, rangy corner. He's a little bit undersized. I think Dallas would have some concerns about that, but I think he could be a hell of a player. So OJ Frederick to the Dallas Cowboys. 21, we got the Chiefs, and obviously the draft class for them, they took Delane and Peter Woods and R. Mason Thomas. I would like to give this team a receiver, though. I think this team badly needs a weapon out there. And I know their type has been more of the Ryan Williams sort of guys or the Bryant Wescos, but Nick Marsh's ability to me is very, very good. I love Nick Marsh, especially going to Indiana. I think it's going to fix a lot of his biggest issues. But I think he's an excellent route runner. I think if he can develop timing with Patrick Mahomes, it could be very good. Or they could be a great combination. Big length, great length and size and weight to him. Needs to clean up the contested catch stuff, but the Chiefs really don't do a ton of that. So I'm going to go Nick Marsh there to the Chiefs. All right, Baltimore at 22. By the way, these team needs, we have to update these. They're not completely up to date yet. This is kind of more post-draft, or this is pre-draft, sorry. They don't really need a receiver. They brought in Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt, so I think they're going to give those guys some opportunities. Tight end is interesting here because there is a lot of good tight end talent in this class. Trey'Dez Green, Terrence Carter, Clark from Temple is also really fun. I'm very excited to get into more of these other guys too. These are the main 3 that I'm hearing a lot from, and Jamari Johnson, of course. Trey'Dez Green, though, is very interesting to me because we talked a lot about Baltimore potentially going Kenyon Sadiq last year, and then they obviously just went a completely different direction. I'm also thinking corner as well. Chidobe Awuzie is getting older. I think he only signed a 1-year deal. Nate Wiggins has been good, but he is a smaller corner out there. And then Humphrey's still on the team. We'll see if Chandler Rivers maybe takes over that role. But if Rivers does take over that role, then you're going to have a really small corner group. So I'm really liking the idea of going with either Chris Peel or Kelly Jones. two bigger, rangy corners. I like Chris Peel a lot. I think he's very productive in zone coverage. I think he's athletic. He tackles well. There's a lot of things to like about Chris Peel that I think could be a good fit at Baltimore. So I'm going to go with Peel at 22 to the Baltimore Ravens. All right, Chargers up at 23. I think offensive line is still a need for this team. I think you got to get better in that interior. I know they brought in Jake Slaughter, but I think you still need more. If you're looking for a true, like, interior offensive lineman, Cade Piper is the guy. I've watched a little bit of his tape. I haven't seen enough yet to do my scouting report on him, but I am very excited to finish up the tape there. But from what I saw, like, yeah, he moves well. He's physical. He's a good player. I don't know if he's really their type, though. I think if you're looking for their type, the Oregon guys, I mean, both of them, there's another one here too somewhere, but the Oregon guys, I mean, they're very, very much so the type they would look for. I like the idea of Carter Smith a little bit, and Austin. Both these guys have some flexibility, but Carter Smith specifically, a very powerful, strong anchor guy, and just highly productive. I think he's going to play guard. I think he'll play guard in the NFL, and I think the Chargers could use that type of guy. So we'll go Carter Smith there at 23. All right, Buffalo at 24. They could use a linebacker, but with Amari Washington here, I'm taking Amari Washington. Very explosive, gives them a guy that could play in that nose tackle role. You can move Deion Walker around a little bit too. You can move him and play one of these 3-4 edge. He's just a very explosive player that his best football is still to come. And, you know, honestly, like, had he gone in last year's draft class, then there's a very solid chance that he would have ended up going as a top 30 player in 2026. So, yeah, we'll do that. 25, Detroit Lions. What are we thinking here, man? I saw one mock draft where they took a quarterback, so I guess they're giving up on Jared Goff already. That would be kind of crazy. Let's continue to add some talent to this defense. I want to go corner here. I think Kelly Jones is kind of their type of guy, but so is Ellis Robinson. Ellis Robinson can absolutely go, but I'm going to go with Kelly Jones, 6'4", 195. You pair him up with a shorter DJ Reed, because I just don't know if Arnold he hasn't really proven it to me so far. I'm going to go with Kelly Jones here, 6'4", 195. Great instincts, good feel in zone and on coverage. Very patient, good hand usage. The speed is a little bit concerning, but I don't think it's that big of an issue. I think if he runs well at the combine, he should be fine. 26, Houston Texans. I know that they addressed offensive line pretty well, but I would like to potentially start looking at life after Wyatt Teller and Braden Smith. Obviously, they're good in the guards, so I guess Wyatt Teller's a bit non of an issue here, but Braden Smith specifically, he's older, has had some injuries. I would like to find a long-term option there. So I've heard a lot of good things about Jacarius Peak, and so I'm going to get to his tape ASAP. I'm very excited about him because I've heard a lot of good things about him. Lance Hurd is big. He's physical, but his best football is still like a bit of an unknown. Sarah Veld, I think, just has a very high floor and a kind of a lower ceiling, and I don't think he needs to sit for a year. So I'm going to go with Peak. Again, I've heard a lot of positive things about him, 6'4", 298. I know he tore his ACL, so we'll see if he's able to come back early in next year. But I'm going to go Jacarius Peak there at 26. All right, let's move over to number 27. We have the New England Patriots. A lot of talent on this board. I still think running back is in play. Trayvon Henderson had a decent rookie year, but it wasn't like the best of rookie seasons. And then Ramondre Stevenson did sign that contract, but I don't think you're necessarily like locked in 100% with him. So you could potentially talk me into a Justice Haynes here or an Isaac Brown, who is like stupid explosive. But I'm also looking at their secondary here. And Christian Gonzalez is a superstar, obviously. Marcus Jones still pretty good. Carlton Davis is still good, but he is getting up there in age. And I think there is some talented corners still on the board here. Especially, I'm looking at Ellis Robinson. I'm very excited to see more of Jamari Sharp. The Bowen brothers have been really good for a while. Ashton Hampton is somebody I'm very excited to get more into. But I'm going to go with Ellis Robinson here. Needs to put a little bit more weight onto his frame. But I love the way that he sees the field, man. Very highly instinctual, high IQ player. I think he'd be a great fit for New England. And he might have a chance to like sit and develop for a year or kind of like rotate and develop with Carlton Davis. I think that could be a great spot for him. All right, 28, Philadelphia. Not a lot of needs on this team. Obviously, we do expect, by the way, that Patriots pick could very well be the New England or the Philadelphia Eagles pick because of the AJ Brown trade that we're all just kind of waiting for. But until it happens, we'll just kind of ignore it. Maybe in the next mock draft, we'll actually have the trade done. So we'll have to adjust the mock drafts. I think for this team, the only need I think defensively they might have is something in the safety room. Makuba was really good last year. I think Epps is capable. But I think if you would look maybe for like a higher end guy, that could be in play. Maybe another pass rusher too, but Jalex Hunt had a pretty good year last year. The offense could use a little bit more talent too on the offensive end, but I think the talent of Coy Parrish is here, and I think I'm going to take it here. I'm going to take Coy Parrish to the Philadelphia Eagles. 29, I got San Francisco. Not a lot of major needs in this team. They've done a really good job of just adding more and more talent to this roster. But I got to make this offensive line a little bit better. Let's add Austin Saraveld. Could play some tackle, could play some guard. You know, he can kind of be that versatile piece for that offensive line. Denver at number 30. I want to give this team an actual weapon in the tight end room. Ingram was fine last year. Joliet was brought in this year's draft, but they didn't invest anything big on him. They invested, a 5th round pick on the guy. More of a receiving threat more than he is a full guy. But Trey'Dez Green at 6'7", 240 pounds should be in for a big year at LSU, and I think gives them a big weapon for Bo Nix to throw the ball to. All right, Los Angeles Rams. We need to give our quarterback, whether it is Ty Simpson or Matthew Stafford for another year, some more weapons on this team. Obviously, we talked a lot about Micaiah Lemon potentially being their pick, but they ended up going with Ty Simpson, which was a major shock. Not a ton of needs defensively, like maybe a linebacker, but as we know, this team just doesn't really care about that position a ton. So I'm going to go with the receiver here, and a lot of good options. This receiver class is very, very talented. Ryan Williams, Bryant Wesco, I love Amari Miller. KJ Duff, if you want some size. By the way, if you're looking for size, Deuce Robinson as well. The Texas guys, the Tennessee guys. Miami has some receivers. Cooper Barkett is awesome. So yeah, a lot of great players in this year's class. Mario Craver, if you're looking for just some juice and explosiveness. Charlie Becker, 6'4", 209, deep ball machine. He's a Los Angeles Rams type of guy. I mean, I would not be surprised if this was a Charlie Becker pick. But I'm going to go with the Marion Miller here. I think there's a lot to like about his game. He doesn't have like the most expansive route tree. Colorado just kind of asked him to run a couple basic routes. But man, he's a good route runner. Like, I think overall his route running was pretty solid. Can track the ball very well. Very good athlete. Shifty. Tough to bring down. I think he'd be a good fit for the Los Angeles Rams. And if you keep Devontae Adams on roster next year, I think Amari Miller could learn a ton from him. So yeah, I like that pick. And we're going to end this thing off with the Seattle Seahawks, who I believe need to just start kind of looking for life on this defensive line after some of your older guys. You're getting a little bit older on that defensive line, and there's a lot of talent still on the board here on this defensive line. You could go with Ahmad Moten, who 6'3", 325, could kind of be that big nose to replace Jaron Reed long term. That's not a bad idea at all. I mean, they're getting a little older in that interior defensive line outside of Byron Murphy, of course. Damon Wilson is also very interesting as well. Kind of restack the cupboard of your edge rushers because you lost a couple pieces. Lawrence is getting older. You have a Uchenna Nwosu. You have Derek Hall still. I don't hate the idea of going with more of that pass rush oriented guy. Quincy Rhodes is somebody that once I get to his tape might end up being a first round pick, but we'll wait and see. John Henry Daly just came off an injury, if I'm not mistaken, so it's a little bit rich right now. Let's, man, this is tough. I'm going to go between Moten and Wilson, two Miami guys. Very tough here. I'm going to go with Damon Wilson here because I like this interior defensive line class quite a bit, and I think the Seahawks maybe could wait on one. Let's go Damon Wilson here. Give them some pass rush juice. But guys, this is our first round mock draft. You can see it on your screen right now. Please let me know in the comment section below what you agree with and what you disagree with. And if you guys are excited about this year's season, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. We're narrowing down to 20,000, so please subscribe if you're not already. Love you guys. Peace.